Devaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Text 39. Tadaso vadyatam papa atatayatma bandhuha vartuscha vipriyam vira kritavan kulapam sanaha.
This man is an assassin and murderer of your own family members. Not only that, but he has also dissatisfied his master. He is but the burnt remnants of his family. Kill him immediately.
Text 40. Sutta uvacham evam parikshata dharmam partha krishnena choditaha nechadantum guru sutam yadyapi yatmahanam mahan.
Sutta Goswami said, although Krishna, who was examining Arjuna in religion, encouraged Arjuna to kill the son of Dronacharya, Arjuna, a great soul, did not like the idea of killing him, although Asvatthama was a heinous murderer of Arjuna's family members.
Text 41. Atopetya sva shibiram govinda priyasaratihi Nyavedayatam priyaye shochantyatmajan hatan.
After reaching his own camp, Arjuna, along with his dear friend and charioteer Sri Krishna, entrusted the murderer unto his dear wife, who was lamenting for her murdered sons.
Text 42. Tatartam pashuvat pasabhatam avanmukham karma jugupsitena nirikshya krishna prakritam guru sutam vama svabhava kripaya nanamacha.
Sri Sutta Goswami said, Draupadi then saw Asvatthama, who was bound with ropes like an animal, and silent for having enacted the most inglorious murder. Due to her female nature, and due to her being naturally good and well behaved, she showed him due respects as a Brahmana.
Text 43. Uvacha jasahantyasya bandhana nayanam sati muchyatam nesha brahmano nitaram guruhu.
She could not tolerate Asvatthama's being bound by ropes, and being a devoted lady, she said, release him, for he is a Brahmana, our spiritual master.
Text 44. Sarasyodanur vedaha savisargopasam yamaha astragramasya bhavata siksito yadanugrahat.
It was by Dronacharya's mercy that you learned the military art of throwing arrows and the confidential art of controlling weapons.
Text 45. Saisha Bhagavan Dronaha Prajarupena Vartate Tasyatmanoridham Patnyanste Nanvagat Virashu Kripi.
He, Dronacharya, is certainly still existing, being represented by his son. His wife Kripi did not undergo a sati with him because she had a son.
Text 46. Tat Dharmajna Mahabhaga Bhavat Gauravam Kulam Brijenam Narhati Praktum Pujyam Vandyam Abhik Nashaha.
O most fortunate one who knows the principles of religion, it is not good for you to cause grief to glorious family members who are always respectable and worshipful.
Text 47. Marudit asya Janani Gautami Patidevata Yataham Nrittavatsarta Rodimyasrumukhi Muhu.
My lord, do not make the wife of Dronacharya cry like me. I am aggrieved for the death of my sons. She need not cry constantly like me.
Text 48. Yaikopitam Brahmakulam Rajan Ye Rajitatmabihi Tatkulam Pradatiyashu Sanubandam Sucharpitam.
If the kingly administrative order, being unrestricted in sense control, offends the Brahmana order and enrages them, then the fire of that rage burns up the whole body of the royal family and brings grief upon them all.
Text 49. Sutta Uvacham Dharmyam Nyayam Sakarvanam Nirvalikam Samamahat Raja Dharma Sutoragnaha Pratyan Dadvacho Dvijaha.
Sutta Goswami said, O Brahmanas, King Yudhishthira fully supported the statements of the queen, which were in accordance with the principles of religion and were justified, glorious, full of mercy and equity, and without duplicity.
Text 50. Nakula Sahadevascha Yuyudhano Dhananjayaha Bhagavan Devaki Putro Ye Chanye Yasye Yos Yitaha.
Nakula and Sahadeva, the younger brothers of the king, and also Satyaki, Arjuna, the personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, son of Devaki, and the ladies and others all unanimously agreed with the king.
Text 51. Tatraham Shrito Bhimas Tasya Shreyan Vadasmitaha Navartur Natmanascharte Yohan Suptan Shishun Vrita.
Bhim, however, angrily disagreed with them and recommended killing this culprit, who had murdered sleeping children for no purpose and for neither his nor his master's interest.
Text 52. Nisamya Bhimagaditam Draupadyascha Chaturbujaha Alokya Vadanam Sakyur Idam Aha Hasan Iva.
Katabhuja, the four-armed one, or the personality of Godhead, after hearing the words of Bhim, Draupadi, and others, saw the face of his dear friend Arjuna, and he began to speak as if smiling.
Texts 53-54. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Brahma Bantur Nahantavya Atatai Padarhanaha Mayovo Bhayam Amnatam Paripai Anusasanam Guru Pratishrutam Satyam Yatat Sant Vayata Priyam Priyam Cha Bhimasenasya Panchalya Maham Evacha.
The personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna said, a friend of a Brahmana is not to be killed, but if he is an aggressor, he must be killed. All these rulings are in the scriptures, and you should act accordingly. You have to fulfill your promise to your wife, and you must also act to the satisfaction of Bhimasena and me.
Text 55. Suto Vacham Arjuna Sahasajnaya Harar Hardam Atasina Manim Jahara Murdanyam Dvijasya Sahamurdajam.
Sutta Goswami said, just then Arjuna could understand the motive of the Lord, by his equivocal orders, and thus with his sword he severed both hair and jewel from the head of Asvatthama.
Text 56. Vimuchya rashanabhaddam balahatya hata prabham tejasa maninahinam shibiranirayapayat.
He, Asvatthama, had already lost his bodily luster due to infanticide, and now, moreover, having lost the jewel from his head, he lost even more strength. Thus he was unbound and driven out of the camp.
Text 57. Vapannam dravinadhanam sthanam niryapanam tatha esha hi brahma bandhunam vadonanyosti ikaha.
Cutting the hair from his head, depriving him of his wealth, and driving him from his residence are the prescribed punishments for the relative of a Brahmana. There is no injunction for killing the body.
Text 58. Putra shokatura sarve pandava saha krishnaya svanam mritanam yat krityam chakrurne haranandikam.
Thereafter, the sons of Pandu and Draupadi, overwhelmed with grief, performed the proper rituals for the dead bodies of their relatives.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Pinky Mother. Thank you so much, Andrew. Very nice recitation and the reading. Thank you so much. I'll share my screen now and we will discuss the verse for the day. So we are on verse number 55 today. So Canto 1, Chapter 7. Son of Drona punished. Verse number 55. So I will recite the verse once again. Read the synonym, translation, purport. And we will discuss for some time. Then 8:40, as Mataji announced before, we will have a bhajan. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashta Prayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtaki. Verse 55. Suta Vacha Arjuna Sahasrajnaya Harer Hardama Arjuna Sahasrajnaya Harer Hardamathasina Manim Jahar Murdhanyam Dvijasya Sahamurdhajam. Suta Uvacha Arjuna Sahasrajnaya Harer Hardamathasina Manim Jahar Murdhanyam Dvijasya Sahamurdhajam. Synonyms. Sutaha, Suta Goswami, Uvacha said, Arjuna, Sahasa, just at that time, Ajnaya, knowing it, Hare, of the Lord, Hardam, motive, Atha, thus, Asina, by the sword, Manim, the jewel, Jahara, separated, Murdhanyam, on the head, Dvijasya, of the twice born, Saha, with Murdhajam, hairs. Translation. Suta Goswami said, just then Arjuna could understand the motive of the Lord by his equivocal orders, and thus with his sword he severed both hair and jewel from the head of Ashwatthama. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Contradictory orders of different persons are impossible to carry out. Therefore, a compromise was selected by Arjuna by sharp intelligence, and he separated the jewel from the head of Ashwatthama. This was as good as cutting off his head, and yet his life was saved for all practical purposes. Here Ashwatthama is indicated as twice born. Certainly he was twice born, but he fell down from his position, and therefore he was properly punished. Hare Krishna. So we can chant Mangalacharan prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaisnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Sha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhano Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adigaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurvani Pacharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangham Langhayate Giram Yatkripatamaham Vande Shri Guru Dinataranam Paramananda Madham Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hare Krishna devotees. Thank you so much for being here on Sunday evening. So we are at this verse 55 now. A lot of talking has happened in the previous verses. Someone saying, Lord Krishna saying he should be killed. He's Atatai. Bhima says he should be killed. And Draupadi is in a panic state. She cannot see this son of Drona, a son of a Brahmana, being bound like an animal, dragged. And she's reminding Arjuna of all the good things that they had received from that Brahmana's father, Drona, who was their teacher for archery. Without the knowledge of archery, Arjuna could not have been the Arjuna he was. So he owed everything to his teacher, Dronacharya. So Draupadi was reminding him, and it's also explained that she was a Vama Sabhava. She's soft-hearted. And she also remembered that although her own children were killed she would not like to see Kripi, another mother, also losing her child. So she was soft-natured, Vamasama. Bhima, on the other side, was not agreeable to that forgiveness. Bhima has a mood to punish this so-called son of Brahmana. So Bhima was quite adamant that he should be killed. Krishna, as it comes in here, by his equivocal orders, we discuss equivocal orders, was asking Arjun to kill. Yudhishthira Maharaj, the way Yudhishthira Maharaj was, he was always in the mood of forgiveness, and he's Dharamraj, he understands religion. So from the religious perspective, from the dharma perspective, his guidance was to forgive this son of Brahmana. And the other two brothers, Nakul and Sahdev, they were also on the side of Yudhishthira. Now, Krishna puts the, as we speak, ball in Arjuna's court, and asks him to now make a decision. That he says in the previous verse, he said he has to. He says, Krishna says in the previous verse, a friend of a Brahmana is not to be killed. But if he is an aggressor, he must be killed. All these rulings are in the scriptures, and you should act accordingly. And you have to fulfill your promise to your wife. And you must also act to the satisfaction of Bhimasen and me. So this is all equivocal instructions from Krishna. He's saying, first of all, he's saying Brahmana should not be killed. But then he says he's an aggressor, he must be killed. Then he says, all these rulings are in the scriptures. So scriptures sometimes, most of the time, speaks both sides. And you should act accordingly. And then you have to fulfill the promise that you made to your wife. And you should also act to the satisfaction of Bhimasena. So this is, Arjuna is in a big dilemma as to what to do and what not to do, to kill or not to kill. Then Arjuna, so beautifully explained here. He says, see what he says is, in the verse, Hare Hardam. So just I'm knowing Ajnaya, knowing it, Hare of the Lord, Krishna's Hardam, motive. Hardam is Hriday, from heart. Hriday is another word in Sanskrit for heart. So what's coming from the Hardam is the motive. What's in Krishna's heart? Arjuna understanding what's in Krishna's heart, then he acts in a particular way. So how does he act? So he removes that jewel from the head of Ashwatthama. Ashwatthama had this jewel, by birth, and he was well famous for that jewel. And that jewel was taken off. And he was also, given a special haircut. So he wore both hair. So it seemed like this was a big insult to Ashwatthama. And Ashwatthama, although son of a Brahmana, was acting as if he was a Kshatriya. He was in the battle and, with using all the weapons. So that haircut that he was given, actually there are two more instances in Mahabharata, if anyone knows, like a special haircut was given to two other similar miscreants. Does anyone know?
To Rukma.
Sorry, Prabhu?
Rukmini's
Yes.
brother.
Yes, Rukmini, yes. Yes. And one more person was given? Rukmini was given a special haircut. Yes. These days, that haircut is, by the way, become a fashion, it seems. If people see having different, some hair popping out here and there.
And Jayadratha as well.
Jayadratha. Thank you, Amal Prabhu. Thank you so much. Jayadratha also. These two miscreants were given similar haircuts. So there was the norm at the time that if someone was given, that the hair was severed in that particular way, that was a big insult. And also, what's beauty of this verse? How this is compiled? It's in Murdhanyam on the head. What's on the head was a jewel, and Murdhajam. Jam is something born from the head, hairs. So nicely played. So Arjun does that. So Srila Prabhupada's purport, again, very interesting. Prabhupada starts the purport. Contradictory orders of different persons are impossible to carry out. Okay, before we go to the contradiction, I was going to ask one question. Like what we said before, the verse says that Arjun could understand the heart of Krishna. Now Arjun is serving. So Arjun is at this moment, he's just, he's performing an act of service. So he's serving. Yeah, he's the one who's been asked to do this. And please Krishna, please his wife, please his brothers. And one of the brothers having different ideas. Now the question that arises in our own life, if we have to apply this principle of service, first of all, how do we please someone by our service? Yeah. So for example, simple example, if we invite someone for prasad, this is very easy topic, but it's quite interesting. When I was asked this question for the first time by another devotee, it's interesting, we discussed it. Like, how do we serve someone? It's not a complicated question. How do we serve someone? It could be dinner, it could be anything. Like, even for example, getting something for someone, we go into lots of devotees go to Vrindavan, for example, or go somewhere else to purchase a gift for someone we want to purchase. How do we make a choice? How do we do that? Is this something, for example, I like halwa and I'm inviting someone for dinner. So because I like halwa, I'll make the best halwa. That can be done as far as I can make it. That's one idea or another idea anyone would like to share? Sorry, I don't put anyone on the spot. I'm not seeing any names. If you want to say something.
Exchanging gifts, giving them gifts.
Yes, that's very nice. Thank you, Mataji. What gift? How do we find out, isn't it? Sometimes when we go to purchase gift, it's tricky, isn't it? Like what to purchase or what not to purchase. Or we invite someone for dinner, what to cook, what not to cook, what prasadam should we take. How do we do that? How do we make that choice?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Namrata Madhavi.
Prabhuji, I think when you invite somebody, you sort of try and find out as to what is it that they like and what is it that their children like. And you try and generally make that, you have an idea about what they like. So you generally try and make all those prasadam.
Thank you, Mata. Namrata. Thank you. That's a beautiful answer. So what we have to do is we have to put some effort to find out as to what the person I want to serve would like to receive, would like to honor, or the gift that they may like. So we have to put a lot of effort. And what do? As Namrata Mataji was saying, either we are too close to that person. So if we're close to someone, we tend to observe their likings or dislikings at our home also, like within the family, we're always serving each other. So we try to put some effort to understand what the other person like or what they don't like. And if we want to please that person, we will, as Namrata Mataji was saying, we will try to serve in the way that other person would like. if sometimes we are not that close to that person, then we will try to find out from someone who is close to that person. For example, we get lots of devotees coming from outside, or we invite someone, or we host a program at home, and we have a guest speaker. So we try to find out, okay, this is the person coming, and this devotee is going to speak. So we want to serve him some nice prasad. So we try to find out, someone knows the devotee as to what does he like. So this art of serving means understanding the heart of other person and serving to their choice. Now, Arjun was very close friend of Krishna. Arjun would never leave association with Krishna. Whenever Krishna, Arjun would be there at every opportunity. And we feel, Bhagavad Gita, Arjun, how he says in the 11th chapter, all the time he was thinking that they're good friends. They were sitting on the same bed. Arjun would joke with the Lord, and so that was the relationship they were sharing. They would go together on excursion, in the forest. There are lots of pastime like that. They go around playing some sports. So they would have that kind of relationship. So Arjun had, just before the war of Mahabharata began, he had he heard the Bhagavad Gita. Now, according to Acharya, Arjun is not an ordinary soul. At the start of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna wanted Bhagavad Gita at the start of the Mahabharata war. Lord Krishna had chosen that moment to advent Bhagavad Gita. And that was the best time. Now because I think it's a shortage of time, but we can understand the complexity of the situation there. So if someone can have the patience and the thoughtfulness to ask a series of questions at a time when it is death at stake, either Arjun's own death or so many other warriors, relatives, everyone's death was imminent there. This is a battlefield. Battlefield means it's not a sport, it's not a football game. You just score a goal here and there, you lost it, okay, next time we can see again, we can play another match or a cricket match like that. It's a battlefield. It means the death is certain. One party will have to die. The other party will survive, or we don't know. A lot of people, both of the party may die for whatever reasons. So it's quite a lot at stake. In that moment, the Bhagavad Gita is spoken. So no one can ever say in future that Bhagavad Gita was spoken in a peace time. They were not doing much, and there was no anxiety, there was no stress. So all that situation, the worst we can imagine, was happening at the moment. So the Lord had a desire to speak Bhagavad Gita at that time. So Arjun plays that role of someone who is baffled, who is bewildered. He is in the first chapter, Arjun Vishad Yog, is in distress. These are my relatives, this is my uncle, that's my grandfather, this is that, this is my brother-in-law, all those questions that he was raising, and he was giving a lot of background and quoting a lot of scriptural injunction as to what will happen if the men are dead, there will be Varnashankara. So all these arguments were good. And then Krishna starts to explain the science of body and soul, and the whole of all the 18 chapters, different aspects that that book Bhagavad Gita is as Prabhupada is the catalog for us for human life. So how to live our human lives. This is Arjun, who was responsible for to give us Bhagavad Gita. Similarly, Parikshit Maharaj also, so close to Krishna's heart, that Krishna personally saved him. Entering into Uttara's womb, he protected Parikshit. And then, because we can ask, and then Krishna, why did he not protect him when he was going to be bitten by the snake? So again, the The higher purpose was the advent of Srimad Bhagavatam. So Arjun being so close to Krishna, he knew what's in the heart of Krishna. Krishna can give equivocal orders. Equivocal means both like both the statements are correct. It's not. Yeah, there's also in the 3rd chapter also Arjun says in probably in the beginning of the verse, beginning of the chapter, he says, and giving me equivocal orders, please tell me exactly what I should do. Yeah. So similarly, he did not ask this time. Bhagavad Gita has already been spoken, so this is not a chance to start another Bhagavad Gita. So Lord smilingly asking Arjun to do what he thinks is the best. How can he please both? So the contradictory orders. So here Arjun, now that we established this, we have to understand how we're going to serve someone. Could be devotees, could be friends, could be our relatives, could be anyone. We have to understand the person's heart. And Srila Prabhupada explains in many chapters, many talks, that what is our position as devotees. Our position as devotees is to serve every living entity in relationship that we have with the other person, with respect to the relationship we have with the other person. So we are, Prabhupada says, we are the servant of everyone. Prabhupada one time says we are actually servant of even an insignificant ant. That's the position of devotees. One time, someone asked Srila Prabhupada, a reporter, a challenging question as to, what is your position? Are you the guru of everyone? Prabhupada in his humility says, I'm not guru of anyone. I'm just a servant, simply a servant of everyone. That was Prabhupada's mood. So this is the art of serving, art of understanding the heart of someone we would like to serve. And our position is always to serve. In serving, we get the mercy of devotees, mercy of Vaishnavas. And the mercy factor is most important in the advancement of spiritual life. We will have another example. Another 10 minutes, we'll have this example later on. So just to carry on with the purport then. So contradictory orders of different persons are impossible to carry out. And all of us probably go through that a lot of time. And it can be as simple as at home, we can have, different family members asking for different things. Mothers have to cook. So someone's asking to cook, one day idli dosa, South Indian, other days, or someone else wants to eat Italian. So there are contradictory orders all the time for mothers. Someone who's always in a serving position, when they have to serve many people at the same time, there will be contradictory orders. So they're impossible to carry out. We all go through this. Therefore, a compromise was selected by Arjun by his sharp intelligence. This intelligence, how is that intelligence given? How does one receive that intelligence? Dadami buddhi yogam tam yedamam upayanti. That buddhi, that intelligence is given by Krishna. And again, to receive that intelligence, we have to become eligible to receive that intelligence. Yeah, and what is the factor for that? That we will discuss a little bit. And what makes someone, or who can please Krishna to receive the intelligence? Yeah, so and he separated the jewel from the head of Ashwatthama. This was as good as cutting off his head, and yet his life was saved for all practical purposes. We discussed this straightforward. Here Ashwatthama is indicated as twice born. In this particular verse, he is now Dvijasya. Earlier he was called Dvijabandhu. Yeah, friend of twice born. Here he's been said as twice born, still given that position. Certainly he was twice born, but he fell down from his position, therefore he was properly punished. So both the aspects were retained. So this is the purport. And then coming back to the topic of how to receive mercy, or how does one receive mercy is obviously how does the Lord give mercy to someone, or spiritual master or the devotees, how do they give mercy? So we did discuss a little bit earlier in that understanding the other person's heart. There's also in the spiritual context, there is a pastime of Srila Rupa Goswami in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So Mahaprabhu, when he was in Jagannath Puri, he would, every day he would go to the temple, and every Rath Yatra, he would have, parties, dance parties, and he will be dancing, and he'll be, reciting wonderful verses from Srimad Bhagavatam. He'll compose his own verses like that. And very esoteric, Mahaprabhu was in the mood of, Srimati Radharani, and he was in the mood of separation in the Rath Yatra. So one time Mahaprabhu was, in the Rath Yatra, in the mood that he was in ecstatic mood, he was dancing, and he was, suddenly he started to speak a verse. And then after that, things settled down. And one day as Mahaprabhu was visiting Srila Rupa Goswami, he finds a leaf, a palm leaf, in which Rupa Goswami had written a verse. So it happens that Mahaprabhu gets the side of that leaf, and he just gently takes the leaf out, and he starts to read that verse that Rupa Goswami had composed. It's not the time to discuss the verse, but just we go to the theme of the day. So when Mahaprabhu reads that verse, Mahaprabhu goes in ecstasy. He's in ecstatic mood. And Mahaprabhu had, his special assistant, Swarup Damodar Goswami, who's well versed in all the scriptures. If anyone would want to submit something for the pleasure of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, some writing, in those days, it was more about people would compose lots of verses, in bhakti or in the spiritual way. Mahaprabhu's sort of secretary, Swarup Damodar Goswami, first of all, would read that. If that verse has been composed, which is favorable to bhakti, then he would read that for Mahaprabhu, otherwise he would reject. So that was Swarup Damodar Goswami's position. He knew the heart of Mahaprabhu. So Mahaprabhu gave that palm leaf to Swarup Damodar and asked. And Swarup Damodar also reads that, he gets an ecstasy. He also gets an ecstasy. Then Mahaprabhu asked, then how is that? How is that this Rupa Goswami, Rupa, knows about my heart? How he has written this verse? How does he know what I was thinking? Because when Mahaprabhu was, singing or reciting verses, and he was just reciting in his own mood. And Rupa Goswami actually continued in the same mood, and he composed another verse. So Mahaprabhu, how does he know what was in my heart? How can he know that? And then Swarup Damodar Goswami says that, my Lord, actually, because you have bestowed your mercy upon Rupa Goswami, that's why he is able to understand your heart, and he can write for your pleasure. Then Mahaprabhu says, yes, actually that is true. I have bestowed my mercy on Rupa Goswami. I have done that. Mahaprabhu accepts that, yes, I have given the mercy. And also it happened that Rupa Goswami was given, Mahaprabhu gave teachings to Rupa Goswami for 10 days at Prayag, Dattashwamedh Ghat. And within those 10 days, Mahaprabhu, explained the most depth of bhakti to Rupa Goswami. And we all know that Srila Rupa Goswami has written such wonderful Gaudiya books, Nectar of Instruction, Nectar of Devotion, most popular books, and there are lots of other dramas as well. So Rupa Goswami had composed many, many books. And we are also, in fact, Prabhupada says that we are in the line of followers of Prabhupada are also called Rupanugas. Rupanugami. Rupa is Rupa Goswami, Anugami is one who is following the footsteps of Rupa Goswami. So we are also Rupanugas. Anyway, so for the Rupa Goswami, Mahaprabhu had given him all that he was, wanting, or Mahaprabhu wanted Rupa Goswami to put in the scriptures, to write the detailed description and compose scriptures on bhakti. So Mahaprabhu had done that. And then Mahaprabhu said, why? Then the question is, what was the qualification of Rupa Goswami to receive that mercy? And it is explained by Prabhupada. So Prabhupada in one of the class that qualification Rupa Goswami had was actually humility. Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, both of them were closest to the heart of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They were given special task for introduction of Bhakti cult. They were sent to Vrindavan, and they were given instruction to excavate the holy places and write the scriptures, and many of those instructions were given. And the incident happens at the Ramakeli when the two brothers first time met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now, all of us know that the background Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, they were actually in a very responsible position. They were ministers, some says prime minister or home minister, like that. Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami in the court of Nawab Hussain. And they were very learned. They were very rich. They had everything that anyone can imagine. Yeah, and they had all the power, all the money that that people would like to have. But they had the desire for a long time. They had desired to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When Mahaprabhu was on his way to Vrindavan for the first time, which was not successful, he first somehow made his plan to see these two brothers at Ramakeli. And when Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami met Mahaprabhu in Ramakeli, that time their mood was so humble. Even though they were, such big ministers, they had so many servants, they had big palaces of their own. Yeah, those two servants, those two brothers, when they appeared before Mahaprabhu, they were in the most humble position. They just, the moment they saw Mahaprabhu, they just lie down flat in the ground, like Dandavat Pranams they offered. And then they had said that they had straw in their teeth. This is like the ultimate expression of humility. And they were saying to Mahaprabhu that everyone thinks that we are learned, or we are the ministers, but actually we don't even know who we are. And you, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you Mahaprabhu have appeared as Patita Pavan, and you can only rescue us. We are the most sinful. They actually call themselves the most sinful, and they say that we are more sinful than Jagai and Madai. And they say lots of those, request of mercy to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that without your mercy, we have no other goal, and our life will be futile. I'm paraphrasing a little bit. So, looking at the mood of humility, Mahaprabhu, starts to have tears in his eyes. And he says, "Your humility is hurting me a lot. Please stop being any more humble." And Mahaprabhu actually, with that mood also, he quotes that verse, Trinadapi Suni Chena Taro Pisuhisnena Amarina Manudena Kirtanya Sadahari, which is most famous verse for the devotees. Yeah, in a humble state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord, thinking oneself lower than the straw on the street, more tolerant than a tree. So these two brothers were so humble. That was their qualification. And tolerance, Haridas Thakur, example in Chaitanya Charitamrita, was another example of tolerance. He had so much tolerant, and actually the tolerance means forgiveness. He was so forgiving to those people who were trying to kill him and beat him on 22 marketplace. Who is Haridas Thakur? Is Lord Brahma. Can you imagine, like, who is Lord Brahma? All the big demons like Ravana, Hiranyakashipu, and there are so many great, demons have received their benediction from Lord Brahma. He's the creator, and he comes as Haridas Thakur, and he is showing so much forgiveness. So that is another. Haridas Thakur was also so close to the heart of Mahaprabhu. He was Mahaprabhu. He was actually, Haridas Thakur was given the title of Namacharya. So this aspect of receiving mercy is directly proportionate to the humility, and Srila Prabhupada said the service attitude. Our Srila Prabhupada himself, when he went to the West, and he composed a poem on the Jaladuta, and he was so much humility. So much humility in that poem. Srila Prabhupada says that I've been given the title of Bhakti Vedanta, but I have no knowledge. I have no bhakti. Now, if you want to, how does it say? If only by your mercy, and if you want to prove that name true, then you can give me the knowledge and the strength to give the teachings to the people in the West. And he was, also Prabhupada says, I'm just like a puppet in your hand. So that's the humility. That's how, one devotee was explaining how Srila Prabhupada, with so much humility, he received the mercy of Krishna. And at that, tender age of 70, going to the West by himself, $40, or I don't know how much, so less, with no connections, just goes there and he establishes this great movement of ISKCON. So this is the qualification of receiving mercy. And by the mercy, devotees can understand the heart of Krishna and the heart of Krishna's words in the scriptures, Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. And then we can understand, how to act correctly. So this is a lifetime practice for us, how do you say, the beginners. So this is time now, 20:38. I think we have 2 more minutes. We can probably have a couple of questions or comments or corrections, and then we can go to the beautiful bhajan for the night. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanavad Pranam, Sarvash Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, thank you so
Thank
much.
you very much for a wonderful class. I just remembered today as we were talking about knowing the heart of Krishna and also knowing the heart of your Guru Maharaj. I was reading and contemplating on Srila Prabhupada's Lilamrita. And in that, there's a very beautiful episode where Brahmananda Prabhu and Gargamuni Prabhu, brothers, when Prabhupada first had his heart attack, he was hospitalized, but he didn't want to stay in hospital. He was fighting the doctors, etc. And nobody else wanted him out of, all the other devotees said, no, he has to stay here. All the doctors wouldn't let him out. But Brahmananda Prabhu and Gargamuni, they actually effectively kidnapped him out of the hospital. They just took him straight out. And because they knew his heart rather than what everyone, and that was actually in the end, it transpired that it was actually better for Prabhupada. And similar incidents again with the same 2 brothers happened when Prabhupada was ready to depart. He wanted to be in Vrindavan, but he was so frail. He was very, very frail, very weak. And the way they actually took him to Vrindavan is Brahmananda Prabhu actually physically carried Prabhupada in his arms.
Amazing.
So knowing knowing Krishna's heart, knowing your Gurudev's heart is something quite special. And it was amazing how Prabhupada reciprocated with that as well. Brahmananda Prabhu, because of the leela of him taking Prabhupada out of hospital, he never went into hospital ever in his life.
Wow.
And right when he was very ill, to the end, last few days, everyone was saying, no, we've got to hospitalize you. They called the ambulance. The ambulance arrived. He passed away. He left his body in Vrindavan, in his room, before the hospital could take him away.
Wow.
And so Prabhupada, he carried Prabhupada into Vrindavan. Prabhupada carried him out of Vrindavan into Golok. And it was such a beautiful, it was a very heart-touching interaction. It's not one that we hear about very often, but it's a very beautiful pastime. And I just thought it was fitting to just
very
mention.
Nice. Very nice. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you very much for wonderful.
And the Prabhupada disciples also, how they serve Prabhupada, how they understood the heart of Srila Prabhupada by the humility, by the full surrender, fully surrendered to the will of Srila Prabhupada. Whatever Prabhupada would say, the disciples would do as their qualification. Thank you so much. That was amazing. Okay, so it's 42, I think. We can now go to the bhajan. And then if there's still some questions, we can take after the bhajan. Yeah, Shyam Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. I think Mataji is going to share. Do you think Mataji is going to share? Or I can share?
Yes, Prabhuji, I will share it. 1 second.
Okay.
Hare Krishna, my Dhanavad Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Prabhuji, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear.
Okay. Okay. Prabhuji, I'm just going to go through the translation first, if that's okay. Hare Krishna. In the land of Nadia, on the island of Godruma, the magnanimous Lord Nityananda has opened up the marketplace of the holy name, meant for the deliverance of all fallen souls. O people of faith, by the order of Lord Gauranga, O brothers, I beg these 3 requests of you. Chant Krishna, worship Krishna, and teach others about Krishna. Being careful to remain free of offenses, just take the holy name of Lord Krishna. Krishna is your mother, Krishna is your father, and Krishna is the treasure of your life. Giving up all sinful activities, carry on your worldly duties only in relation to Lord Krishna. The showing of compassion to other souls by loudly chanting the holy name of Krishna is the essence of all forms of religion. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, can I start? Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, Shyam Prabhu, and Hare Krishna, everyone. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Prabhupada. Can I start singing, Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhu, please.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji. Nadiya Godrume Nityananda Mahajan Patiyache Namahata Jivera Karan. Nadiya Godrume Nityananda Mahajan Patiyache Namahata Jivera Karan. Shraddhavan Jana Hi, Shraddhavan Jana Hi, Shraddhavan Jana Hi, Shraddhavan Jana Hi. Nadiya Godrume Nityananda Mahajan Patiyache Namahata Jivera Karan. Nadiya Godrume Nityananda Mahajan Patiyache Namahata Jivera Karan. Prabhura Ajnae Bai Mage Ye Biksha, प्रभुरा अजनाय बाई मागे भिक्षा बोलो कृष्णा भजो कृष्णा करो कृष्ण शिका बोलो कृष्णा भजो कृष्णा कृष्ण करो सीका नदिया गोद्रु में नित्यानंद महाजन पातियाचे नमः जीवेरा कारण अपराध शून्य होये लोह कृष्ण नाम अपराध शून्य होय लोहा कृष्ण नाम कृष्ण माता कृष्ण पिता कृष्ण धन प्राण कृष्ण माता कृष्ण पिता कृष्ण धन प्राण नदिया गोद्रु में नित्यानंद महाजान पातियाचे नमः जीवेरा कारण अपराध शून्य होयो लोह कृष्ण नाम अपराध शून्य होयो लोह कृष्ण नाम कृष्ण माता कृष्ण पिता कृष्ण धन प्राण कृष्ण माता कृष्ण पिता कृष्ण धन प्राण नदिया नदिया गोद्रु में नित्यानंद महाजन पातियाचे नमः जीवेरा कारण कृष्ण रे संसार करो चाहे अनाचार कृष्ण रे संसार करो चाहे अनाचार जीवे करो कृष्ण नाम सर्वधर्मसार जीवे दोया कृष्ण नाम सर्वधर्मसार नादिया नादिया गोद्रु में नित्यानंद महाजन पातियाचे नमः जीवेरा कारण Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Jai. Thank you so much, Shyam Prabhu. Beautiful,
Hare Krishna.
beautiful.
Hari
translation.
Bol, beautiful bhajan and beautiful singing, Prabhuji. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji, for giving me this opportunity. I really don't deserve it, or I'm not worthy of singing such a pure Vaishnava song, but you're so kind. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, everyone.
Hare Krishna. Okay, thank you very much, devotees. It's 10 to 9, so unless there's any more discussions, we can close the session tonight. Okay. Grantha Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai. Very nice class, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu, for a very nice.
No problem.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.